Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Claudia Cormier. I'm an officer with the San Marcos Police Department. First and foremost, thank you for being here, and to everyone that has prayed and contributed to my recovery in all ways. I stand here today feeling thankful to be alive and blessed to work in the community of San Marcos. May 18th has forever changed my life and those surrounding me. While in the hospitals, I read multiple articles and watched several news broadcasts about my accident. Surprisingly, I go back to the moment I began to pray out loud and hope that I was forgiven for all my sins. I knew then that I could not recover or move forward if I did not remove all the negative the accident carried. After my husband and I were able to hold and comfort each other, we decided to forgive the individuals involved and hope that they could also move on with their lives. I did not want to live in hate or let the accident take any more from me than it already had. The evening of May 18, 2019, I was dispatched to a call for service for debris on the highway. When I arrived, my first thought was that I needed to act quickly in order to prevent any accidents from occurring on the highway. I began to drag the obstacle out of the highway and headed towards my patrol car. Suddenly, I felt the impact. When I opened my eyes, I remember feeling something had struck my back. I was laying on the grass and could see my patrol vehicle ahead of me. The impact on my back was me landing safely on grass rather than on the lanes of traffic after being struck by a vehicle. I began to check my body for injuries and noticed I had lost a microphone to my radio and my body camera. When I tried to move my legs to stand, I realized that along with my boot, I had lost my right leg. I immediately thought to myself, I have to save what I have left. However, I did not have a way to call for help, and I knew my patrol vehicle would cover any passing motorist from seeing me. Fortunately, I could still hear the radio transmissions through my earpiece. I managed to flip over to my stomach. I used my left leg to push myself as I used my arms to crawl on the grass back to the highway. When I got to the highway, I laid on the shoulder and began to scream for help. I waved my arms to all the vehicles traveling on the highway. I could feel myself getting tired and began to pray out loud. I screamed multiple times that I love my husband and my stepchildren, whom I love as my own. I do not remember how loud I was screaming, but I was overpowered by someone else screaming, "I'm a nurse." Suddenly, I saw a woman in a dress running towards me as she kept screaming, "I'm a nurse, I'm going to help you." I felt her hand touch my neck, and then noticed several motorists had stopped out and were now surrounding me. One of those people was a woman that knelt beside me. She grabbed my hand and began to pray out loud with me. Then I heard the emergency tones through my earpiece and help was on the way. At the time, I did not know I was going to survive. The only thing on my mind was seeing my husband, Jason, who was also on duty that night. I heard the sirens getting closer and finally saw my coworkers arrive to my need. My husband knelt beside me and began to say words of encouragement. Once the officers assessed my injuries and they applied multiple tourniquets, I began to scream. All this time I was running on pure shock and adrenaline. 2 tourniquets were applied on each leg and 1 on each arm. My equipment and vest were removed and my shirt was cut off. San Marcos Fire Department and Hays County EMS arrived to assist. I was loaded into the ambulance and my husband came to be by my side. I cannot describe how excruciating the pain was, and I admit that I asked my husband to let me go on several occasions. I felt that everything I had accomplished was all that I could do, and that it was my time to go. When the ambulance took off, I heard they were transporting me to Seton and Kyle. Based on my experience as an officer and former dispatcher, I knew my injuries required a trauma center. Victims and patients with severe injuries like mine are usually transported or airlifted to Austin. Later, I found out that I was wrong. When we arrived at the hospital, I lost sight of my husband and was immediately taken into the operation room. The level of pain was increasing. I could no longer hold on. I had already come to terms that this was my last breath, and I asked the medical staff to let me go in order to end my suffering. Then, 2 AirLife employees walked in and told the staff that they were ready to take me. A confident and fearless individual turned AirLife away and stated he was now in control of the situation. Then he walked towards me, leaned in, and stated, "I got you." When I woke up, I was told I had been in a drug-induced coma for 2 days and that Seton had become an advanced trauma center. I also woke up to the outpouring support of the entire nation. In addition, I was at a hospital full of friends, family, co-workers, and individuals unknown to me that wished me a fast recovery. My husband told me that I had FaceTime Chief Staff, assuring him that I would return to full duty. With that being said, I told my husband that I was ready to move forward and start my new life as an amputee. The injuries I sustained during the accident almost caused me to lose my left leg, my right arm, and my right eye. Over 20 surgeries and procedures were performed on my body. I also received over 100 staples and stitches. I was saved by an amazing surgeon of Seton Hayes, Dr. Oscar Rios, and his staff. To my surprise, I also found out the nurse that stopped out during the accident, Ms. Jessica Flores, worked at Seton's ICU. It should be noted that prior to Officer's arrival, Jessica made tourniquets out of her own with t-shirts. I am beyond thankful for everyone that took part during my surgeries and my stay at Seton. The ICU and the staff on the 5th floor will forever be in my family's and my heart. During my stay at Seton, not a day went by that I did not receive a visitor, a letter of encouragement, a prayer, a warm gift, a delicious meal, or a text message. In addition, my family received comfort and care from everyone surrounding us with their warm thoughts and prayers. My amazing and fierce advocate, Asta Vasquez, has been and still is there every step of the way. After 1 month at Seton, and a bittersweet farewell to all the wonderful employees, I was transferred to a wound care facility. Shortly after, I moved into an inpatient facility in San Antonio. When I arrived at Bridgemore, I was greeted by an old college friend and a caring staff. However, when the first day of therapy began, I broke down for the first time. That's when reality set in, and I knew that I would never be the same. I could not get dressed on my own, or even use the toilet. My left leg now had a metal rod, several screws, and approximately 4 fractures. It was healing slowly and very painfully. My right arm had no strength or full sensation. The bruising and stitches above my right eye were finally healing, but it was the worst headache of my life. After a rough first session and evaluation, I felt that walking again was not going to happen as soon as I had thought. My dream of going back to work seemed impossible. Angela, my college friend, saw how devastated I was and gave me the best words of encouragement. Angela told me to take one day, one session, or one goal at a time. She said I did not have to be strong for anyone and that it was okay to cry. Once I put everything into perspective, I knew why I would never be the same, because I would be better than before. However, I also put into perspective the meaning of loss to me. Loss is something that all of us have experienced one time or another. In December 2017, our department suffered the first loss of a brother in blue, Officer Ken Copeland, badge 432. Last year, my dream of becoming a mother for the first time was shattered after a miscarriage. July of 2016, one day before I graduated from the police academy, I lost my father to the violence of Mexico. By far the worst day of my life. After the accident occurred, and I was told that a prosthetic would have me walking in no time, I asked myself, am I really getting my leg back? With that being said, I knew that was a reason to come back stronger. After a few weeks, I was finally able to stand for the first time. Thanks to my wonderful therapists, Christy Jessen, Jessica Thome, and Lanny Tolentino, I gave my first steps towards the next step of recovery. Once again, my stay at Bridgemore was overwhelmed with support, gifts, visitors, and delicious meals. After 2 months, I was finally set to go home. As I went to the first floor to say my final goodbyes, I was surprised with an amazing farewell. The nurses, patients, staff members, and my San Antonio Police Department Sisters in Blue were there to see me move on to the next chapter of my life. When I arrived to San Marcos, there were approximately 100 people waiting to greet me at the police department. I received posters, gifts, balloons, and cards welcoming me home, and my favorite, Spider-Man gifts. I was thankful to have so much love surrounding me and blessed to have survived such a traumatic experience. When I arrived to my home, I was also welcomed with banners, balloons, and gifts from neighbors and family. While at home, I have read hundreds of cards and opened gifts from many people that were not known to me or had been a part of my life. I also read about and valued those organizations and individuals that donated their time and efforts for successful fundraisers and donations to help me and my family through the rough months. Shortly after, I had the pleasure of meeting Matias Ferreira, the nation's first double amputee officer in New York. Prior to serving his community, Matias served our country in the military and lost both legs at a very young age. Matias told me that I will always encounter frustration, but to never give up and to always look at the positive in all negativity. Most importantly, he told me that we were the chosen ones. Matias, and now I, believe that we have a bigger purpose in life and that we were chosen to survive and live through this journey for a reason. The beauty of it is that I have never been alone. I truly believe that every bond I have become a part of has made me stronger, and it had a purpose that I now understand. The bond I share with my brothers and sisters in blue has pushed me to work harder, to be better than before, and to always strive for excellence. To all those that were there that night, I will forever be thankful for saving my life. And although we may tease and always have something fun to say about our neighbors, the San Marcos Fire Department, and Hays County EMS, I'm glad we all came together as one that night to save one of our own. My BPOC 78 class members reminded me of how we used to walk as strangers in the hallways, but left as brothers and sisters of the thin blue line, no matter the community we chose to serve. My communications family are individuals that I hold close to my heart because I know their voice and efforts of that night were able to carry me from a dark place without hope to a new chapter of my life. This department as a whole has been my second family and continues to inspire me to be better every day. My sisters of Sigma Lambda Gamma reminded me that the strength and love of a sisterhood is forever. My brothers of Phi Sigma Pi all came together with prayers and well wishes no matter how long since our last meeting. My friends from Texas State University and the Bobcat Marching Band had me reminiscence about the fun and our love for the college years. My Hays County CrossFit family reminded me why we pushed each other and that the success as a box was more important than as an individual. My friends from Laredo reminded me that they were there for me, no matter the distance or the time since we last saw each other. The community of San Marcos reassured me that working and living in the area has been one of the best decisions of my life. This beautiful nation proved to me that the power of prayer can do miracles. I cannot thank everyone enough for the support my family and myself have received through this journey. I look forward every day to a new challenge in therapy and have learned to be patient with the time it has taken my body to heal. Every time I look at my scars, I thank my surgeons, Dr. Brian Kelly and Dr. Austin Hill, for their amazing and continuing work. My recovery will take approximately a year and a half to 2 years before I can come back to the streets. But one day remains on my mind. The day I wear the uniform and badge that I love with pride and happiness to continue serving my community. Thank you.